Why do humans sometimes choose meaning over truth? Imagine you discover that one of the most important beliefs in your life is probably false. Not definitely false, not proven false, just very likely false. Maybe you believe that your life has a special purpose. Maybe you believe that good people are rewarded in the end. Maybe you believe that the person you lost is somehow still with you. Maybe you believe that everything happens for a reason. Now imagine that someone offers you evidence strong enough to make you seriously question that belief. Would you want to know? Most of us would say yes. Of course, we would choose truth. Truth matters. Truth is supposed to be the thing that separates reality from illusion. But human beings do something strange. Sometimes when truth threatens the meaning we have built our lives around, we hesitate. We may avoid the evidence. We may reinterpret it. We may search for another explanation. We may tell ourselves that some things are simply beyond human understanding. And sometimes we may knowingly choose a comforting story over a painful fact. This creates a strange question. Why would a creature capable of discovering the truth sometimes prefer not to? The easy answer is that humans are irrational, but that answer is not very satisfying. Perhaps something deeper is happening. Perhaps humans do not live by truth alone. Perhaps we need another thing just as badly: meaning. And when truth and meaning appear to collide, the human mind can become a battlefield. Truth answers what? Meaning answers why. The difference between truth and meaning sounds simple, but it reaches surprisingly deep. Truth is about what is actually the case. Did the event happen? Is the claim supported by evidence? Does the medicine work? Did the person really say those words? Is the planet actually there? These questions are about reality. Meaning is different. Meaning asks questions like, why does this matter? What does this experience say about my life? What should I do now? What kind of person am I? Why should I keep going? What makes suffering worth enduring? A scientific measurement can tell you that someone died. It cannot by itself tell you what that person's life meant to you. A telescope can tell you how old a star is. It cannot tell you why looking at that star makes you feel small, peaceful, or strangely connected to something larger than yourself. A brain scan can show patterns of activity when a person experiences love. It cannot settle the personal question of what that love means. This is important because human beings are not simply information processing machines. We are creatures trying to build a life, and a life is not just a collection of facts. It is a story. That story has a past, a present, and an imagined future. It contains heroes and villains, failures and victories, losses and hopes. We place our experiences into patterns so that the world feels understandable. The problem is that stories can be meaningful without being literally true. And sometimes the more meaningful a story becomes, the harder it is to let go of it. The human brain does not simply see reality. We often imagine that perception works like a camera. The world exists outside us. Light enters our eyes. The brain records what is there. We see reality. But perception is much stranger. Your brain is constantly trying to figure out what is happening based on incomplete information. It receives signals from the senses and combines them with memory, expectation, context, and previous experience. You do not simply see the world. Your brain constructs an interpretation of it. This becomes obvious in optical illusions. You can look directly at an image and still perceive something that is not physically there. The illusion does not feel like an illusion while you are experiencing it. It feels real. That tells us something important. A convincing experience does not guarantee a correct interpretation. The same principle applies to ideas. If you strongly believe that something has meaning, your mind does not treat that belief like a cold mathematical equation. It becomes part of your model of the world, and when new evidence arrives, your brain has a problem. It can update the model, or it can protect the model. Humans are capable of both. The pain of changing your mind. Imagine someone who has spent 20 years believing that a particular person is trustworthy. They defended that person. They built memories around them. They made decisions because of them. Then evidence appears that the person has been lying for years. The new information creates more than a factual problem. It creates a personal crisis. If the evidence is true, then the person must reconsider 20 years of memories. What else was I wrong about? How could I have missed it? Did I waste all those years? Can I trust my own judgment? The belief was not just a belief, it was connected to identity. This is one reason people can experience what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. The term sounds complicated, but the basic idea is simple. Your mind becomes uncomfortable when important beliefs, actions, or facts conflict with one another. Suppose someone thinks, I am a careful, intelligent person, but they also discover, I made a huge decision based false information. Those two ideas do not fit comfortably together. The mind wants to reduce the tension. One way is to accept the painful conclusion, I was wrong. Another is to reinterpret the evidence. Maybe the information isn't reliable, or maybe it wasn't really my fault, or I probably knew something was wrong all along. Sometimes those explanations are reasonable, sometimes they are not. The important point is that the mind has a strong motivation to restore a sense of coherence. We do not merely want accurate beliefs. We want beliefs that allow us to continue being ourselves. When a belief becomes part of identity, a belief is especially difficult to abandon when it becomes connected to identity. Consider the difference between these two statements. I believe this idea, and people like me believe this idea. The second is much more powerful. Now, the belief is no longer just an opinion. It is part of belonging. It may connect you to your family, community, religion, political group, culture, or personal history. Rejecting the belief can feel like rejecting the people you love. This is why arguments about deeply held beliefs often go badly. You may think you are discussing an idea. The other person may feel that you are attacking their identity, and they may experience your evidence not as information, but as a threat. This happens across the ideological spectrum. It happens in politics, it happens in religion, it happens in science when people become emotionally attached to particular theories. It happens in families, it happens in friendships, and it happens inside individual minds. The strange part is that intelligent people are not immune. In some cases, intelligence can make the problem worse. A clever person has more tools for defending a belief. They can invent better explanations, they can find exceptions, they can construct elaborate arguments. Intelligence can help us discover truth, but it can also help us become extremely sophisticated at explaining why we do not need to accept it. Have the story we tell ourselves. Think about your own life as a story. You were born, things happened, you met people, you made decisions. Some worked, others failed. Some experiences changed you. But life itself does not arrive with chapter titles. You create the structure afterward. A difficult childhood can become the thing that ruined my life, or the thing that made me stronger. A failed relationship can become proof that I am unlovable, or an experience that taught me what I actually need. A career failure can become evidence that I am a failure, or evidence that I was pursuing the wrong path. Notice something subtle. The event may be exactly the same. The facts do not necessarily change. The meaning changes. This ability can be incredibly useful. Human beings need ways to transform experience into something psychologically survivable. If every painful event remained nothing more than meaningless pain, life could become unbearable. Meaning allows us to integrate suffering into a larger story. But there is a danger. Meaning can become so powerful that we start changing the facts to protect the story. That is where meaning begins to compete with truth. The problem of everything happens for a reason. Few ideas demonstrate this conflict better than the belief that everything happens for a reason. It is an enormously powerful idea. When something terrible happens, the belief offers structure. Maybe there is a lesson. Maybe there is a hidden purpose. Maybe the universe is moving towards something we cannot yet understand. Maybe the suffering will eventually make sense. There is an obvious psychological appeal. Chaos is frightening. Meaning is comforting. If a terrible event is random, then the world may feel indifferent. But if the event has a purpose, even a painful purpose, reality feels more coherent. Yet there is an important distinction. A person can create meaning from an event without believing that the event was caused for that meaning. Those are not the same thing. Suppose someone survives a serious accident and later says, "That experience changed my life. I became more patient, more grateful, and more aware of how fragile life is." That is a statement about meaning. It does not require the accident to have been intentionally designed to teach them those lessons. The distinction matters. We can sometimes find meaning in suffering without pretending that suffering was necessary. That may be one of the healthiest ways to reconcile meaning with truth. Why humans create myths? Long before modern science, human beings told stories about storms, disease, death, stars, animals, creation, and the origins of the world. Many ancient cultures imagined gods controlling natural events. A thunderstorm was not simply atmospheric activity. It could be the anger of a god. The changing seasons could become part of a cosmic drama. The movement of the sun could be woven into stories about divine beings. From a modern scientific perspective, many of these explanations are factually wrong, but calling them simply stupid misses something important. These stories were doing more than explaining physical events. They were explaining human existence. They answered questions like, why are we here? Why do we suffer? What happens after death? Why should we behave morally? What does the world expect from us? A myth can be factually inaccurate while still revealing something profound about the people who created it. The story may not tell us how lightning works, but it may tell us what a society feared, what it valued, what it hoped for, what it considered sacred. This is one reason myths survive even after their original explanations become questionable. Their factual claims may weaken while their symbolic meaning remains. Religion and the search for meaning. Religion provides perhaps the clearest example of the tension between truth and meaning. Religious traditions make claims about reality. Some are historical, some are metaphysical. Some concern gods, souls, miracles, creation, morality, or life after death. These claims can be debated in terms of evidence and philosophy. But religion also does something else. It gives people a framework for living. It provides rituals for birth, marriage, death, mourning, forgiveness, gratitude, and community. It can transform an ordinary life into a meaningful story. For a believer, a funeral is not simply a biological event. Death may become a transition. Suffering may become a test. Forgiveness may become a sacred obligation. Life may become part of something much larger than the individual. Whether particular religious claims are true is a separate question. And it is important not to confuse emotional power with evidence. A belief can be deeply comforting and still be false. But the reverse is also worth remembering. The fact that a belief provides meaning does not automatically prove that it is false. Meaning and truth are different dimensions. The mistake is assuming that because something feels meaningful, it must therefore be factually true. The opposite mistake is assuming that if something cannot be scientifically measured, it must therefore be meaningless. Human life is more complicated than either conclusion. The comforting power of false beliefs. Sometimes a false belief really can make someone feel better. Imagine a person who believes they will one day meet a loved one again after death. If there is no afterlife, then the belief may be factually mistaken, but emotionally it can soften grief. Should we therefore tell the person they are wrong? There is no universal answer. It depends on the situation. If the belief causes them to make harmful decisions, exploit others, or reject necessary medical treatments, consequences become important. But if the belief helps someone mourn without causing harm, the moral question becomes more complicated. We often tolerate comforting beliefs in everyday life. Parents tell children simplified stories about the world. People preserve idealized memories of loved ones. We sometimes describe a person as always being there for us, even though they literally were not always there. We use metaphor constantly. The human mind is comfortable moving between literal truth and symbolic truth. The problem appears when we forget which one we are using. A metaphor can illuminate reality. A metaphor can also become a prison if we mistake it for reality itself. The dangerous side of meaning. Meaning can save us, but meaning can also be dangerous. History contains countless examples of people committing terrible acts because they believed those acts served a higher purpose. A person who thinks life is meaningless may become hopeless, but a person who believes they possess an absolute purpose can become dangerous if that purpose justifies anything. This is one of the darker sides of meaning. Once people believe that something is sacred, ordinary rules can change. Violence can become sacrifice. Obedience can become virtue. Cruelty can become punishment. A political movement can turn disagreement into betrayal. A religious movement can turn outsiders into enemies. A conspiracy theory can transform random events into evidence of a hidden war. The more meaningful the story becomes, the harder it can be to question. This is why meaning needs humility. A powerful story should not automatically receive a free pass from evidence. Why conspiracy theories can feel so powerful. Conspiracy theories offer another fascinating example. A conspiracy theory usually proposes that important events are secretly controlled by a small group. Some real conspiracies have existed. Governments, companies, organizations, and individuals have sometimes secretly coordinated wrongdoing. History provides documented examples. So skepticism toward powerful institutions is not inherently irrational. The problem comes when the explanation becomes impossible to disprove. If every piece of evidence against the theory becomes proof that the conspiracy is hiding its tracks, the theory becomes self-protecting. Why is there no evidence? Because they destroyed it. Why does someone deny the conspiracy? Because they are involved. Why did the predicted event not happen? Because the plan changed. At that point, almost anything can become confirmation. Why does this happen? Because conspiracy stories provide something random events often do not: intention. A complicated world suddenly has an enemy. Economic problems are no longer the result of thousands of interacting forces. Someone caused them. A mysterious event is no longer unexplained. Someone knows the truth. A frightening uncertainty becomes a story with characters, motives, and a hidden plan that can be psychologically satisfying. Reality is often boring, chaotic, and complicated. Conspiracy stories are usually much cleaner, and humans love clean stories. The terror of randomness. Perhaps one reason meaning is so powerful is that randomness is emotionally difficult. Imagine walking through a city and seeing a person suddenly fall to the ground. You might immediately ask, what happened? Was the person sick? Did someone hurt them? Did they trip? Our minds search for causes automatically. This tendency is useful. If something dangerous is happening, identifying a cause can help us survive. But the same mental machinery can make us uncomfortable with genuine uncertainty. Sometimes there is no satisfying reason. Sometimes terrible things happen because many small factors happen to intersect. Sometimes people get sick. Sometimes relationships end. Sometimes an airplane crashes. Sometimes a person is simply in the wrong place at the wrong moment. That does not mean every event is completely random. Reality contains patterns, causes, probabilities, and physical laws. But not every personally significant event comes with a personally meaningful explanation. That is a difficult idea to accept. It means that some of life's most important moments may not have been meant to happen. We may have to create the meaning ourselves. Meaning as a survival tool. There may be a deeper reason humans care so much about meaning. Meaning can help people survive difficult conditions. Imagine two people facing the same hardship. One thinks, this suffering is completely pointless. Nothing I do matters. The other thinks, this is painful, but I am enduring it for my family. The physical situation may be identical. The psychological experience may be very different. This does not prove that meaning is biologically necessary in every situation. Human beings are too diverse for such a simple rule. But meaning clearly influences motivation. People tolerate enormous hardship when they believe the hardship serves something important. Parents sacrifice sleep for children. Athletes endure painful training for a goal. People work for years to build something that may not exist yet. Activists endure rejection because they believe change is possible. Scientists spend decades pursuing questions that may never produce a simple answer. Meaning allows the present to be connected to an imagined future. It tells us, this moment is part of something. That sentence can be incredibly powerful. The future is a story we haven't lived yet. There is another strange thing about meaning. Much of it comes from the future. We imagine who we will become. We imagine what our work will accomplish. We imagine what our children will become. We imagine the person we might meet. We imagine a better society. We imagine retirement. We imagine being remembered. None of these things exist yet. And yet our imagined futures influence what we do today. A person can wake up at 5 a.m. to train for an Olympic event that will happen years later. Someone can study for a decade because they imagine becoming a doctor. A person can save money for a house that does not exist in their life yet. Human beings are strange creatures because we are partly controlled by realities that are not yet real. Meaning allows us to live in relationship with the future, but imagination can also deceive us. We may sacrifice everything for a future that never arrives. We may remain in a painful situation because of a story about what it will eventually become. Meaning gives direction, but direction is useful only if we occasionally check the map. When truth becomes too painful, there are moments when the truth is not merely unpleasant. It can be devastating. A person discovers they have a serious illness, a relationship ends, a dream becomes impossible, a loved one dies, a lifelong belief collapses. In such moments, demanding immediate intellectual clarity may be unrealistic. Humans need time to absorb reality. Denial can sometimes function as a temporary psychological shield. A person may initially think this can't be happening. That sentence is not necessarily a carefully reasoned belief. It can be the mind's way of slowing down an overwhelming experience. Eventually, however, reality demands attention. The danger is when temporary denial becomes permanent. There is a difference between taking time to process truth and building an entire life around avoiding it. The first can be human, the second can become destructive. Tash, but what if truth itself has no meaning? Now we reach the deeper philosophical problem. Suppose we discover that the universe has no built-in purpose, no cosmic plan, no predetermined destiny, no final explanation waiting for us. Would that make life meaningless? Not necessarily. This is where the relationship between truth and meaning becomes especially interesting. Meaning does not have to be something the universe hands us. It may be something conscious beings create. Consider music. The laws of physics do not require a song to mean anything. Air vibrates, ears detect pressure changes, brains process patterns, and yet music can make a person cry. Does that make the emotion fake? No. The meaning is real as an experience, even though it may not be written into the fabric of the universe. Love may work the same way. There may be no cosmic inscription saying that two particular people are destined to meet, but the love between them can still be profoundly real. Friendship may not be written into the stars, it can still matter. A sunset may not have been created specifically for you. It can still stop you in your tracks. Perhaps meaning does not require cosmic authorship. Perhaps human beings are authors. Hash? The difference between discovered meaning and created meaning. This distinction changes the entire question. If meaning must be discovered, then there must be some objective purpose already waiting for us. If meaning can be created, then the responsibility shifts. We become participants rather than detectives. The universe does not necessarily need to tell us why our lives matter. We can decide what matters. That sounds liberating, but it can also be frightening, because if meaning is partly ours to create, there is no guarantee that everyone will choose wisely. One person may find meaning in caring for others. Another may find meaning in domination. Another may find meaning in artistic creation. Another may find meaning in destruction. So meaning alone cannot be the highest standard. We still need truth. We need evidence to understand consequences. We need empathy to understand suffering. We need moral reasoning to decide what deserves our commitment. Meaning gives us a reason to move. Truth helps us understand where we are going. We need both. The human need for a coherent self. There is another reason people protect meaningful beliefs. We need to feel like the same person across time. Think about your childhood self. You may have almost nothing in common with that person. Different interests, different fears, different beliefs, different dreams, and yet you think, that was me. How do you maintain that sense of continuity? Partly through memory, but memory is not a perfect recording. We forget, we reinterpret, we change the emotional meaning of events, we create explanations for why we became who we are. In this sense, identity is partly a story of continuity. And once again, the story does not have to be perfectly accurate to feel real. This is not an argument that truth is unimportant. It is an observation about how human identity works. We need a narrative that connects yesterday's person to today's person and tomorrow's imagined person. Without some sense of continuity, life could feel fragmented. That may be one reason people resist facts that threaten their personal story. They are not only losing an idea, they are losing an explanation of themselves. The strange case of hope. Hope sits directly on the border between truth and meaning. Hope is not the same thing as optimism. Optimism says, the future will probably go well. Hope can say, I don't know what will happen, but I will act as though improvement is possible. That difference matters. Hope does not necessarily require certainty. A person can acknowledge terrible odds and still choose to continue. A doctor can tell a patient the situation is serious while the patient continues to hope. A society can recognize enormous problems while believing change is worth attempting. Hope creates a reason to act under uncertainty, but hope can also become denial. If a person refuses to acknowledge reality because they want to believe everything will work out, hope becomes dangerous. Healthy hope does not require pretending. It can look directly at the facts and still say, now what? That may be one of the strongest forms of meaning humans possess. That's the problem with choosing meaning over truth. So should we simply reject meaning whenever it conflicts with evidence? That sounds reasonable, but there is a problem. Facts alone cannot tell us what to value. Imagine two people agree completely about the facts of a situation. They know what happened, they know the consequences, they know the risks, but they disagree about what matters most. One values freedom, the other values security. One values loyalty. The other values fairness, one values individual choice, the other values collective responsibility. The disagreement is not necessarily caused by different facts. It may come from different values. Truth can tell us what is happening. It cannot automatically tell us what we should care about. This is why the human problem is not solved by saying just follow the facts. We need facts, but we also need values, and values are connected to meaning. The real challenge is learning how to keep meaning from corrupting our understanding of reality. A better relationship between truth and meaning. Perhaps the answer is not to choose one. Perhaps the goal is to let them correct each other. Truth without meaning can become cold. Meaning without truth can become dangerous. Truth says, this is what happened. Meaning asks, what will we do with it? Truth says, this person died. Meaning asks, how will we remember them? Truth says, the relationship ended. Meaning asks, what did it teach us? Truth says, the world contains suffering. Meaning asks, how should we respond? The first question keeps us grounded. The second gives us direction. The healthiest approach may be neither blind faith nor emotional nihilism. It may be truth first, meaning second. Not because meaning is unimportant, because meaning becomes stronger when it does not need to lie. Can we live without some illusions? There is still an uncomfortable possibility. Maybe humans cannot live entirely without comforting illusions. Maybe every person carries some beliefs that are partly fictional. The story we tell ourselves about who we are. The belief that our future self will finally become the person we want to be. The idea that our relationships will last. The assumption that our lives matter to other people. Even ordinary confidence contains predictions about a future that does not yet exist. Perhaps the goal is not perfect psychological transparency. Perhaps that is impossible. The goal may be something more modest, to remain willing to be corrected. That is a very different attitude. It says, this belief matters to me, but I could be wrong. I hope this is true, but I don't know. This story helped me survive, but maybe it isn't the whole story. I want this to have meaning, but I won't invent evidence to prove it. That small space between conviction and certainty may be one of the most valuable forms of intellectual freedom. What happens when we let meaning survive without certainty? Consider a different way of approaching life. You love someone. You do not know whether that relationship was somehow destined. You love them anyway. You look at the night sky. You do not know whether the universe has a purpose. You are amazed anyway. You lose someone. You do not know whether consciousness survives death. You remember them anyway. You fail. You do not know whether the failure was meant to happen. You learn from it anyway. You face an uncertain future. You do not know whether everything will work out. You continue anyway. Notice what has happened. Meaning has not disappeared. It has simply stopped demanding certainty. That may be a more mature form of meaning. It does not say, I know the universe has a plan. It says, I don't know whether the universe has a plan, but I know what I choose to care about. That is a much harder position, and perhaps a much more honest one. The strange freedom of not knowing. Human beings often fear uncertainty because uncertainty removes the comforting feeling of control. If we know why something happened, we can place it inside a story. If we know what will happen next, we can prepare. If we know the purpose of our existence, we can organize our lives around it. But what if some questions have no final answers? What if consciousness remains partly mysterious? What if we never discover whether the universe has an ultimate purpose? What if there is no final explanation for why anything exists at all? There is a temptation to fill the silence with certainty, but perhaps uncertainty does not have to be an enemy. It can be a space in which curiosity survives. Not knowing can keep us searching. It can prevent us from confusing our stories with reality, and it can make the meanings we create more personal rather than less. The most dangerous sentence may be, "I know why." Think about how often humans say, "I know why this happened." Sometimes we do. Sometimes we have good evidence. But often the sentence really means, "I have a story that makes this easier to live with." Those are not the same thing. A child dies, and someone says there must be a reason. A relationship ends, and someone says it was destined to happen. A political disaster occurs, and someone says a hidden group planned everything. A stranger succeeds, and someone says they must have cheated. A person fails, and someone says they were simply not meant for greatness. These stories may occasionally be correct, but the emotional desire for an explanation can become stronger than the evidence. And once we understand that tendency, we can become more careful. We can ask, do I believe this because it is supported by evidence? Or do I believe this because I need it to be true? That question can be uncomfortable. It can also be transformative. Meaning is not the enemy of truth. The deeper lesson is not that humans should stop searching for meaning. Quite the opposite. Meaning is one of the things that makes truth matter. Imagine discovering the truth about a distant galaxy. Why care? Because curiosity matters. Imagine discovering a new treatment for a disease. Why care? Because human suffering matters. Imagine discovering that one of your beliefs is wrong. Why care? Because intellectual honesty matters. Values tell us why knowledge is worth pursuing. Truth tells us whether our beliefs deserve to survive. The two can work together. The danger begins when meaning becomes more important than reality. When we decide that something must be true because life would be harder if it were false. When we turn hope into certainty. When we turn metaphor into fact. When we turn identity into evidence. When we turn a comforting story into an unquestionable reality. That is when meaning stops helping us understand the world and starts protecting us from it. Perhaps we don't choose meaning instead of truth. And now we can return to the original question. Why do humans sometimes choose meaning over truth? Maybe because the choice is not really between two ideas. It is between two psychological needs. We need to know what is real, and we need to feel that our existence matters. Truth satisfies one need. Meaning satisfies another. When they agree, life feels unusually stable. When they conflict, something inside us has to give. Sometimes we choose truth. Sometimes we choose meaning. Sometimes we invent a compromise. Sometimes we simply refuse to decide. But perhaps there's another possibility. Perhaps we can learn to hold meaning more lightly. To say, this story matters to me, without saying, therefore it must be objectively true. To say, I hope, without saying, I know. To say, I don't understand why this happened, without immediately inventing a reason. To say, this experience changed me, without claiming that it was destined to happen. That kind of humility does not destroy meaning. It may actually protect it. Because a meaning that survives contact with uncertainty is more honest than one that depends on certainty. And perhaps that is the strange position humans occupy. We are creatures that desperately want the universe to tell us a story. Yet we are also creatures capable of realizing that the universe may remain silent. We look at suffering and ask why. We look at death and ask what comes next. We look at consciousness and ask how experience can exist at all. We look at the stars and ask whether any of it has a purpose. And when reality does not answer, we create stories. Some of those stories are false, some are true, some are metaphors, some are possibilities, some are beautiful, some are dangerous. And some may be impossible to classify because the questions themselves reach beyond what we currently know. Perhaps the goal is not to stop creating stories. It is to remember that they are stories, to keep one foot in the world as it is and one foot in the world as we hope it could be. Because truth tells us what the world is. Meaning tells us why we are willing to care about it. And the most interesting human beings may be those who can hold both questions at once. What is actually true? And now that I know, what does it mean to me? Maybe growing wiser does not mean choosing truth and abandoning meaning. Maybe it means becoming brave enough to let meaning change when truth changes. And that is a much harder form of honesty, because sometimes the truth destroys the story we were living inside. But sometimes after the story falls apart, we discover something unexpected. We are still here. The world is still here. And we are free to ask a new question. Not, what story must be true for my life to matter? But knowing that I may never have all the answers, what will I choose to make matter? That question has no easy answer. Perhaps that is exactly why it belongs to us.